Show with Burger King. Watch live at 5 p.m. weekdays on YouTube. Join the conversation on 0808 17 17 700. Talking Scottish football first.
Good evening, Paul Cooney here with Peter Grant and Craig Moore. Haven't seen him for a couple of months because of the winter break over there in Oz, and now back with us. But the aftermath, it continues after the weekend and what happened after penalties and Celtic going through to the Cup semi-final. So many calls last night, so many comments, and today more people are wading in. The superintendent in charge of the event, Emma Croft, was saying large-scale away allocations for derby matches are not workable. Well, what do you think? 0808 17 17 700, because it worked at Hampden just towards the end of last year with 50,000 there. What went wrong though on Sunday, and how can we put it right? I see Gordon Strachan is quoted as saying he thinks that regrettably it won't happen again. Gordon Smith, former SFA Chief Executive and Director of Football at Rangers, waded in as well. What do you feel? We're going to hear from Martin O'Neill, who spoke exclusively this morning on TalkSport to Jim White. So Jim has given us this interview a few moments ago. And Martin, let's hear him first. Let's hear. This is what he said this morning about the Old Firm game, and should there be the bigger allocation again in the future?
Well, there's no question that it's been the result itself has been overshadowed by events. And I'm certainly not the official mouthpiece for the football club, and I accept that there's been no statements being put out. So at this moment, I think that sometimes in the past, and I'm guilty of this myself, making some hasty remarks and then repenting at leisure. In fact, I've spent a lifetime doing that. But as I said to you, I'm not the official mouthpiece for it. From my own viewpoint as the manager, obviously a great result for us to win. We were short of some of our really senior players, but people stepped up to the mark from that. But then the scenes at the end, which I thought were scenes of joy and happiness and stuff like this here, the crowd spilled over, and obviously there's great potential then for serious harm to be done. Absolutely, I agree with that. The interesting thing about it, Jim, and I think there's talk about why was there 7,000 people allowed into it, and I think it's been covered in many aspects, because different set of rules. SPL have different set of rules to the Scottish FA. And in all honesty, I've been the manager there 25 years ago. Obviously, I don't think we played Rangers at Ibrox in the Cup, but we certainly played them twice a season for 5 years. So that's, my calculations, about 10 times. And we had the full allocation of tickets. We had 7,000 people there. And I don't think there was ever a pitch invasion at any given stage. We both won and we've lost. And in 2003, we came with the year that we were trying to get to the UEFA Cup final, players in great joyous mood, or fans going to that. And I was a big advocate, I must admit, really big, from a distance, an advocate of feeling that without the away fans, the full allocation of away fans, I thought the Old Firm game, still a fantastic fixture, no question about it, had lost some of its lustre. And I thought, and the noise emanating from Ibrox both last Sunday and the Sunday before that, even though we'd only 2,500 people, was something I have not heard for a long, long time. So there's something really magical about it, and I'm really obviously quite saddened by the events. It's a shame, because I think the things that I was hoping that would happen and happen for a long time may now not happen anymore. The full allocation, both at Ibrox and Celtic, maybe been taken away.
So that was the reaction of Martin O'Neill this morning on TalkSport. Peter, you watched the game, so did you. Everyone was watching it. Looked as though it was all over. It was the penalties, Celtic had won, and then what ensued afterwards. You've played in so many of these games. What's your reflection on the fact that people are now saying, so many people are piling in saying, the bigger allocation shouldn't happen anymore? Do you agree?
After the game, when Martin O'Neill's first question was asked with the television, who was doing it, Paul? I thought it was a terrible question to ask about the aftermath, because he should have spoke about the game first. Genuinely. Because then you're not giving a lot of people to talk about. It was going all round the world, and it was going to go round the world. I've been at Celtic Park and there was 18,000 Rangers supporters. Yep. I've been at Ibrox when we had the main stand behind goals. Never seen the trouble. So obviously there was better policing, there must have been. I'm not saying that now. I'm only talking for what I'm looking at, saying, well, what is the difference? I can never remember in all that 18,000 at Ibrox, at Celtic Park, ever coming on the pitch, ever, in the games I played. And I played in 55 of them, Paul.
Wow. Yep.
So
sure.
I'm looking at it, and I look at the weekend, and it'd be a crying shame, and I know the reasons why people are saying it, but it'd be a crying shame if both sets of supporters don't get their full allocation. This is my opinion.
Yep, sure.
Because the atmosphere is completely different, and I know at the weekend it wasn't nice to see. There's no way getting away from it.
Sure. And they shouldn't come on to the pitch. They shouldn't. It
100%.
happened earlier on when the Fernandes goal went in. Some of the Rangers fans came over, I think not many, but some of them did, and then the goal was chalked off. It's happening in other grounds as well. And then the Celtic fans came on at the end when they knew they were through. Again, they shouldn't have come on. And then moments later, a little bit later, then the Rangers fans, some of them, mainly the younger ones, came from the other end. A lot of it is about the stewarding, and it's difficult for us. There's going to be an inquiry into it. I hope they look at the stewarding and the policing of it. Was it properly looked after, Stuart? Because, Craig, this shouldn't have happened. It's a spectacle that went around the world.
Absolutely. It's a game that, like it says, is a feature. It's a classic. And listen, two very clear things for me. What you do not want to see. You don't want to see players going into the fans after celebrating a goal and that sort of stuff, as joyous as what it can be. And at the same time, you don't want to see fans spill onto the pitch.
It's your place of work.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's on the fact that there have been bigger supporters in away ends. And you look at even at Hampden and that sort of stuff, where it's at 50-50 split, where things have been controlled and managed and there's been no issues whatsoever. So, listen, I just hope that it's not just there was trouble and we're going to go back to less people in at this particular match, because it really does create an electric atmosphere. But I want any supporters that are out there that are listening is kind of try to bring that respect to the game of football, because there's young people. There's young kids going into these games and all that sort of stuff. And what you do not want is people going into any game of football once you go into that stadium and a feeling of being unsafe. Sure. So there's a lot of work to be done. I'm certainly not across all that information, but I would still like to see the bigger amount of support at these games, Paul, because I think it really makes it.
And it's frightening for the young people there, and we want to bring young fans into the game as well. Danny Rowe was asked at full time about his reaction to what happened.
I'm honest, I was not on the pitch in this moment. I didn't see it until now. I heard just that was something on the pitch. If this is the case, I think we all know about all the emotional situation after a game. Nobody likes to see this. I think it was a great atmosphere, 120 minutes, and I think it should be like this. All the other things should be not in the stadium or around football.
It's such a shame, isn't it? That's what we're talking about. I mean, the football itself wasn't great, was it?
No.
But I mean, the week before there were 4 goals in 90 minutes
Paul,
at the weekend.
Well, see, I think that gets lost a little bit.
Yep.
I think the game was better than people are saying.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that because Celtic won, because I thought Rangers attacked Celtic. They put them under pressure. Celtic defended exceptionally well. Get blocks in. Danny Rowe spoke about 25 shots on target. I mean, I think he was remiss to me say that, that's for sure. But there was unbelievable blocks coming in. Sinisalo coming and taking crosses. Rangers attacked Mikey Moore. I thought they made a mistake taking him off. I thought he was electric. Celtic fullback was under a bit of pressure on your back foot and you're
Why
tired.
did he take him off?
But all these things. And I think they're going away from that. I thought the game was exciting in a way, not as a spectacle and quality football.
But it was on a knife edge.
It was on a knife. We've played in them. I mean, I remember playing Rangers and they used to say, he gave us a doing, but Andy Gordon was brilliant. Didn't matter. It was all about winning.
What was the scoreline?
No, exactly.
Who's through?
And Rangers.
I know.
And we've all been there.
Yeah.
But I thought the game was really good. Celtic done things that I've not seen them doing this season, defending wise. And there's no doubt of that. And I think that was missed. I thought, as you say, we're sitting there watching what's going to happen next. And I really enjoyed the game. And I think the players deserve great credit. Both sets of players having a right go at it. There was tackles going in, there was blocks going in, there was headers going in. That's what that game's always been about. And we've cried out for that. Now we're saying that was rubbish. But it was rubbish because it was 0-0, it was penalty kicks. I disagree with that 100%.
Okay. In fairness to the reporter, I had to ask that question, Peter.
I thought it was poor.
No, you have to. As a journalist.
No, I thought it was poor, first question.
They have to.
No, I thought it was poor.
With that
What's
going
Martin
on.
O'Neill going to say? It's nothing to do with Martin O'Neill. It's nothing to do with Danny Rowell. Ask him about the game and say, well, what about the incident at the end? Then, that's fine. But I think, first of all, Martin O'Neill, it's the last question Martin O'Neill or Danny Rowell if he'd have
I can
won.
see that from a football point of view. From a
fact.
journalistic point of view, they have to ask it. Of course, Martin O'Neill is, you heard him there with Jim saying, I'm not the spokesman for the club, but neither club has said anything about this yet. James, we're watching for this. There's nothing. So Martin O'Neill is the de facto spokesman for the club, and good on him for leading the club. Danny Rowell said a little bit about it. Josh is on the line from Josh. You'll be watching on the telly, I would imagine. Good evening.
You all right, lads? How are we?
Yeah,
Hey, Josh.
Hi, Josh.
Yeah, so to start off with the on-field stuff, Celtic defensively were outstanding as a collective. Austin Trusty and Liam Scales, bodies on the line, repelled the threat from Rangers. The absence of Callum McGregor and Tierney could have been felt. It left a void in the experience levels, but as a group, they adapted well to that. Celtic did. To echo what Emma Dodd said about the end of it, disgusting scenes. Basically, I also spoke to Emma as well at the Man City and Notts Forest game.
All right.
On Wednesday. So Emma filled me in on the fact that she started with you, Paul, when she was 18 and stuff, and she sort of developed that career. So in answer to your question about Connie's questions and things like that, and Emma, they're both really experienced professional journalists, Paul, aren't they?
Yeah,
they pay to ask these questions.
I get it. And listen, see, on this programme, we love to talk about the football. This is the football show. We're not the politics show. There is a societal problem here. I said it last night. And I think under 16s are not consequenced at the moment in Scotland. And they have to look at the whole thing, because you could see at the weekend a lot of young people. They weren't all really young people. There's a lot of people, balaclavas up or whatever. They're going with kind of uniforms now. And it's not what we want. Let's go. Let's enjoy the football. You'll win sometimes. Other times you'll lose. And you have to be able to take it. But they have to behave. But what about the Celtic defensive record, which is what you're talking about there, Craig? Because the bookie said Rangers as the favourites, as you would imagine, at full strength, and Celtic, as you would say, under the pump, no Callum McGregor, no Kieran Tierney.
No Tierney, and obviously debut for central defender.
Yes, right.
Benjamin.
Yeah, just about, yeah.
In terms of Old Firm debut.
Yeah.
I felt that again. I was speaking to Peter prior to the show. When you sometimes when you're looking at team sheets, there can become an expectation, not from players, but certainly supporters. Right, and you go, that's a team that Rangers should really be stronger than. But what I will say, Rangers tried and they tried to create those opportunities and forced Celtic to defend. But Celtic defended ever so well. When you're talking about bodies on the line, big blocks, that willingness and desire to really be able to get over the line, and it kind of took me back, Paul, to games when I was a young lad coming into a Rangers side, and I'm probably sure the Celtic supporters have seen this lineup with Craig Moore playing in the middle of the park and going, well, that's a weekend Rangers team. But the amount of games that we actually we got over the line, and it's just about that togetherness. It's about that willing to fight and protect one another, and hanging in the match. When it goes to penalties, of course, it can become and I'm not saying it's luck. It's not luck. That's things that you can practice.
Of course. Yeah.
But it does become a bit of a toss of the coin. And then the first penalty so crucial to score. And Tavernier, who's ultra reliable.
He'll go in the record books as one of the all-time great penalty takers.
Yeah, and I thought that Tavernier should have been used earlier in the game, if not started the match.
Manager doesn't fancy him really, though, does he? From the start, more and more he comes off the bench.
It's or doesn't come on.
Yeah, sure.
So again, look, it's probably a missed opportunity for Rangers. But again, that's not Celtic's concern. They're through to the semi-finals.
Here's Danny Rowell speaking about going forward and the chances that he mentioned, Peter.
The final details, because, and this is also part, when you have not the mentality, not the personality, then you will have not react like this we did today. We have this, there's no question mark when I see my group, what I did during the week, how we lift each other, how we prepared it, how focused we are, what we can do. And you deliver such a performance 120 minutes. Then in football, and I think this is also part of football, you need in some moments a little bit of luck on your side to score in the right moments. And I'm convinced if you work so hard and you improve so massive, this more momentum will come back. And then let's see where we are in the next couple of weeks.
He was actually talking there, wasn't he, Peter, about going forward and how he'll lift them, because that was what a chance for Rangers to get silverware. They might win the title, but what a chance.
Yeah, of course it was, Paul, and it's the exact same for Celtic. You're going to a quarter final, and you're thinking, what an opportunity. Then you look at the draw after it, you see the teams that's left in it. You're thinking for Celtic or Rangers, everybody's favourites, hot favourites now, whatever it was going to be. But the most important thing you do in football is you've got to defend well, Paul. And Celtic done it exceptionally well. I never seen it coming. I've been critical of them defending set plays, corners, and I think that's the difference with James Tavernier. When he comes on, he's got quality delivery.
Yeah.
The one thing that Sterling's not got is got that quality of delivery. He's a very good man defender. That's probably why he gets the nod, because he's a little bit more concerned about Maeda playing out there or whatever. So he was thinking more of that. For me, if I'm playing with two strikers, I'm playing James Tavernier, because I know the quality of the crosses coming in is going to be much better.
Josh, here's your manager speaking about the penalties and how his players kept their cool.
You practice the penalties, but you don't, you can't replicate it. You certainly cannot do. It doesn't matter. And, after Rio last Sunday taking the penalties, once I saw that Rio was down as one of the 5 penalty takers, I might have been a bit concerned. But it didn't take him 3 attempts to put it in, and he wanted to take the penalty. And the most important thing I think about these things is that the 5 of them wanted to take the penalties. So that's great.
Josh, what's your final thought?
Celtic are sort of going to the end of games so many times. Like once could be construed as a fluke, but they're getting all these last-minute goals. He showed a different side to him at the weekend, hanging on in there, absorbing the pressure. So the multitude of times that it's happening is a hallmark of a good side. It's about character, it's about resilience, isn't it, Craig? It's about, going to the end of games rather than folding the cards in. And this is also one of the most exciting ends to a Scottish domestic season that I've known. You've got Hearts, you've got Motherwell. Motherwell have done really well to ascend themselves up the table in such a short time with less resources, less finances than the rest of the other 3. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what twists and turns unfold. But that result could psychologically put a sort of nail in Rangers' ambitions a little bit, because they've been buoyed at home at Ibrox, and I think that's what a lot of the end of the game was about, the frustration, and it kind of overspills into that, doesn't it? So not that anyone's condoning what happened, Paul.
No, of course not.
But I think what you'll find, Josh, is a lot of Rangers supporters will look at the last 2 Old Firm matches and say that, and you can hear the commentary already out there, that Danny Rowell's not the manager, because you need to be winning these type of games. If you're going to be a Rangers manager, you need to win trophies. Yeah. Now, let's be really, really clear. Danny Rowell, since coming in, has improved this team dramatically, in my opinion. Now, they may not be a flashy, entertaining side, but he's certainly simplified things for the team. They've looked a lot more compact and harder to break down. So defensively, they've looked a lot better. For me, where the improvement still needs to happen is probably in that creativity final third. I still think that there's areas of improvement there, but he's definitely improved the side from the situation that Rangers were in under Russell Martin. It has been night and day. I hope this manager is given time, because I believe that change after change after change is not good for stability, and I believe that there is a platform that Rangers can grow from. And you're right. Listen, there's 9 games left there in the league.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. Look, I mean, Motherwell took a bit of a slip there against Dundee, but they'll have an influence on the final top 6 split. It's all on. Hearts will be absolutely loving it just now.
Why did he take off Mikey Moore? Do you think he was tiring, or he didn't seem to get the supply that you'd have expected, because he played so well the week before against Celtic?
Yeah, listen, again, managers, sometimes have plans, I guess, of what a game's going to look like and the subs that they're going to make, Paul, and that can be spur of the moment. It's not always planned. Sure. Mikey Moore, for me, is a player that has been in recent weeks asking a lot of questions and probably the most likely to create something. So therefore, it does become a bit of a surprise. His substitutions haven't been great in the last 2 Old Firm games.
It's one of the questions, is his in-game management as good as it should be? I mean, it is amazing what he did. Rangers were 13 points behind, they're now 6 points behind.
Yes.
And they did so well. the problem for the Rangers fans now, they're starting to say, what happened to Livingston? 2 goals down. Celtic 2 goals up. Right, okay.
Motherwell game was a big one also.
Exactly, against 10 men. So there are moments where just that winning, the killer instinct, Rangers fans, last night Billy was on saying, I'm now worried about it. I really like Danny Rule.
Yes.
I wonder though, sometimes you need a bit of luck as well.
Paul, I think they're still well in it.
Right.
I think there is absolutely no doubt Rangers have still got a fight in this, as Celtic have. You know, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind of that. Because when you're bitten and you're hurt, sometimes that makes you even stronger.
Oh, you could hear him at the end, wasn't he? He was so...
And I think they never done a lot of things wrong at the weekend. As I say, Celtic's defending was outstanding at times. You know, the blocks that were getting every centre half and on for young Dane Murray, who I think's a top quality player, by the way.
Did well, didn't he?
I think he's a top quality player. I think he just needs games. But he was outstanding. So you've got to understand you're playing against an opponent. Danny Role has improved the team beyond recognition to come in with that. There's a hell of a fight still going on for this championship. Don't you worry about that.
Josh, thanks so much for your call. Say hi to Emma Dodds, who is absolutely brilliant. She was a delight to work with as a trainee and has worked her way through. I mean, really proud of what she's doing. We're going to go to Robert, Rangers fan, just after the break.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
Jens Bertel asks you, is he going to be the Celtic manager next season? Or who is it going to be? What do you think? I'll tell you what he is. He's the Glens Manager of the Month again for February. And Stuart Kettlewell got it at Ross County. I'll need to look at the record. 2 wins they had. Yeah, exactly. I saw it this afternoon. But listen, Robert, the Rangers fan, is on the line. Hi, Robert. Good evening.
Hiya, how you doing? I just want to talk about the fans going on. Hiya. Hi, guys. I just want to talk about the fans going on the pitch.
Yeah, were you at the match, Robert? Did you go?
No.
No, okay.
I want to know... I think it's actually the attitude of the fans, and when the players jump into the crowd, they think, oh well, the players jump into the crowd so we can go on the pitch, and it's the attitude of the Green Brigade and the Union Bears thinking they can do whatever they want at football matches. Now, if a player jumps into the crowd, I think he should get a red card because when a player takes off his shirt, he gets a yellow.
Yeah.
So why? Shouldn't a player get a red card when he jumps into the crowd because it's provoking the crowd to spill onto the pitch?
Yeah, they get a yellow for that at the moment, but that is a good point. Maybe there has to be. Yeah, there have to be drastic measures because the fans are thinking.
A player should not jump into a crowd.
Yeah. Robert, I can't disagree with you. It's an entertainment business, but this was serious business. Look, this could have been much worse at the weekend, but it wasn't. It wasn't a good scene, and there's going to be consequences. But I think is that a fair suggestion? What do you think?
I think it is. Yeah. I think Robert's fair with that because you go to the side, okay, you're none. And I also agree with the fact that you shouldn't go to the opposition support. You shouldn't celebrate.
No.
You shouldn't go in front of all opposition support and wind them up. Go to your own support all day long, but don't get into them. And I know it's difficult now because there's not a lot of... There used to be bits of fencing up before that the fans, the players couldn't get, and the fans couldn't get either.
When I went to the games, the fencing was up. I was at the front, and I used to get crushed against the fencing.
Exactly, that's the problem.
And that stopped after Hillsborough.
Exactly, so we understand that, but I agree with that.
Struggle to do it in South America, don't you? Because they've got the normally the bowl.
Of course,
and you can't get to it. But it's a.
What about the red card? Would you red card now if players go? I mean, there has to be messages going out to them because look, loads of people in society are saying ban the away fans completely. Honestly, look at this game. We talk about how good it is. We know about some of the excesses. Of course we do. Yep. But honestly, there's a lobby of opinion growing. Problem is, stop having away fans. And it is going to, for the fixture, it's going to take so much away from it.
Yeah, but the red card that Robert's obviously mentioned there, I mean, it's not something you could bring into place now because obviously the season's up and running. But for me, it should be something that could be discussed at the end of the season that is maybe then presented. Listen, any way that we can make the game obviously more enjoyable, but safer, and that for me is key, Robert. And players do have a responsibility on the field. Look, I didn't score many goals, and I think maybe I got a little bit close to fans one particular match. But again, we now know the dangers of what it can provoke. So yeah, I mean, it's not something that could be introduced now, but why not?
You saw it at Ibrox. You saw it at Kilmarnock.
Yep.
Celtic versus Kilmarnock.
Yep.
Right at the end. Mm-hmm. You saw it at Livingston. You saw it at Motherwell. You know, they're all jumping on they're almost coming right onto the park.
Yep.
And the stewards are going, oh, what's happening? You know?
Yeah,
It's catching the stewards by surprise simply because the players are jumping into the crowd. You know? So it's down to the players not to jump into the crowd.
Yeah, no,
And I think
I agree.
that should be a red card now.
I think
From
that
next season.
Okay.
will happen.
Yeah.
I think there's no doubt that will happen, because I think you've got to be careful. And listen, we've all been there. When obviously you've been getting dogs abuse off the support, and all of a sudden you score or whatever, and you all of a sudden you think, well, I'll give them one back. That's I understand that, and it's a difficult line then, because you're saying, well, he's been giving me dogs abuse for 90 minutes, and I've scored the winner in the 91st. It's always difficult, Paul. But I agree, if you go and run and jump into them, I think that it should be a red card.
Robert, what do you think about the away allocation then? What would you do if you were in charge of Scottish football? Would you allow away fans to come into the games?
I would. The away allocation, for instance, at the Old Firm game, which is what we're talking about, it's a good atmosphere, but it has to be down to the responsible fans, as in the family ones, not the Green Brigade, not the Union Bears. It should be a case of the ones that are responsible, that are not going to jump on the pitch, i.e., for instance, the older ones, the responsible ones, you know, and not just giving away willy-nilly.
Yeah. Hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Rangers go to Parkhead, or Celtic comes to Ibrox, or Celtic go to Kilmarnock, or Rangers go to Tynecastle. It should be the responsible ones that should be there, not the ones that are going to... Yes, they make a lot of noise, but the problem is, you know, the ones that are not going to jump onto the pitch, the ones with the families, you know, because the kids were there at the weekend.
Yeah, sure.
You know, along with older people. So you've got OAPs, kids, and mature adults, all probably going, oh, we lost or we won, and they left. You know,
what does it
fans
say?
That have been,
Okay, what does it say about us as a
been,
society if we can't have opposition fans in the ground? We need to have a really good look at ourselves in this country, and I don't think it's the right way forward. It's the behaviours.
No, you need the right fans.
Exactly.
End of story. Because
but the fans need to behave.
Rangers went to the third tier. It was Rangers fans that helped out the third tier, because all the stadiums were full and all the shops run about got business down in Stenhouse
around the
and
country,
everywhere else, around the country. But it's a case of you need to have the responsible ones going to the big games.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same with Livingston, isn't it? Livingston's the only one. They sell out the full stadium for every Celtic Rangers match because they allow it, and they take the main stand and they give the other three to the opposition. We just got to manage a way how to manage it. Looking at it at the weekend, we always put questions up. It's easy for us sitting here and I'm saying, oh, should the security have been closer behind the goal at both sides, and saying, right, no matter what happens,
should there have been a bigger police presence at the penalties?
You know what I'm saying? Right, you're not going on the pitch. Nobody's going on the pitch, whatever, because obviously there's euphoria and there's no getting away from it. I mean, I heard somebody saying, I thought it was ridiculous, and I know Arojo jumped onto the bar, but somebody described it as if it was Wembley, at that time. And I'm thinking there was one player on the bar, and that's okay, you're talking in front of your own supporters, but all these things. But what I'm saying is, could they be behind the goal and saying, right, nobody gets on at either side, you're stuck there, that's what it does, that's the security, that's the players for on the pitch. And I can understand at times people go on the pitch and I think, wow, what are you doing that for? And we see it so many times, Paul, and sometimes it's difficult because there's people behind you pushing forward, and all of a sudden you find yourself, and then everybody thinks, oh, people are going on the pitch, and it becomes one thing after another.
Craig?
Hey, but at the same time, again, I'm listening to you there, Peter, as well, and I'm thinking, I've never been to a game of football and thought, I'm going to run onto the pitch. So you're right, it's a thought process for some supporters that go to these matches. And you know, when these scenarios happen, I think it's important that heavy steps are taken. I'm not talking about reducing crowd numbers.
No, I know you're not.
I'm talking about arrests and making sure that there is a deterrent that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, that's the easy way out, just to say, right, no fans away. I think we would come to regret that.
I
wouldn't be for that at all.
No,
honestly, Peter, I've seen it for decades.
No, you're 100% right. And listen, the atmosphere up until then was excellent.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm saying. It takes away from the game, because I thought both sets of players We're blood and guts, not a lot of quality, but blood and guts, and it taken away from that.
They're all singing the same song at the start now, Craig. Simply the best. Oh, the Rangers fans are not liking that. The Celtic fans are enjoying it. Am I missing something in this one? I don't know. Robert, thank you so much for your call. Talking so much sense. The Rangers Advisory Board and the Rangers Supporters Association have issued a statement. I'll tell you about it shortly. Duncan is on, Spartans fan. He's on the line. Hi, Duncan. Good evening.
Hi there.
Evening, Duncan.
Hi, Duncan.
Hi guys. I think we can put to bed now. It's the best club game in the world, eh? I think that's finished, eh?
You think? What's the best then? Hibs and Hearts?
Well, I don't know. It's definitely no Celtic Rangers, is it? With that debacle on Sunday. And one's as bad as the other. They're both blaming each other for this. One's as bad as the other, eh? Let's be honest here. And nothing will be done. You might ban the away fans for a couple of years, but nothing serious will be done. Like, let's say if Celtic fans get back in the Ibrox and they wreck the toilets and jump in and cause mayhem, we're going to start docking the team points. Nothing like that will happen. I'll just carry on the way it is.
So what would you do, Duncan? What's your solution?
What would I do?
Aye.
I would ship the two of them off to the English League. Let them go on with it doing there.
You don't want
when
Rangers.
They start winning nothing, and when they start winning nothing, and all these great fans start deserting the clubs, let's see where they are then, eh?
Look at the money that Rangers and Celtic and the supporters over the years, Duncan, have put into Scottish football, bailing clubs out around the country. Well, it's helped, when you got the bigger allocations coming. Well, I think...
would the fans desert the two clubs?
They sing songs about 1690 and all that nonsense.
Yeah,
there's nonsense.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we don't need, of course. Both sets of fans, you're right.
No, but that's it. That's it. Yeah, but that's the stuff we didn't need. But let's say for it, what about a good idea? Why don't both clubs come out together and sit at the same table and say, this is not good enough, guys? Together, they both chairmen sit at a table and say, in front of the television cameras, Ken, what? We're not carrying on like this. How's that about for an idea?
No, listen, that's a fair point, but I think the biggest thing is what the answer is. I mean, we can all say it's not a good idea, and we all say it's terrible when the scenes go out and people are on the pitch and up. We know that's wrong, 100% wrong. There's no getting away from that. But there's another side of it. When there was nobody on the pitch and the singing was going on, I agree, we'll never change the songs. No matter if you live to for another 100 years, these songs will never change. They've changed over certain things, but it doesn't matter for that 90 minutes. And it used to be that. It used to be 90 minutes. That was hell for leather, having a go at each other. Okay, but a couple of skirmishes outside. By the way, which happens at any football club, and I've seen lower league clubs attacking buses.
See the bus getting attacked at the weekend.
But that's
Queen
what I'm
of
saying.
the South,
but all these things. So we can say Celtic and Rangers, of course. But there's the reason it's Celtic and Rangers because exactly what Duncan said at the start. People perceive it as one of the biggest in the world. Listen, there was a game at 23 players ordered off in Brazil. Look at the pandemonium with players. Could you imagine that happening in Glasgow? They'd be hell to play for, what I mean, with players. So we've got to find a solution. And the solution is, for me, is it better security? I don't know. I'm not sitting with these guys and saying how they put security together. They've tried. Celtic have got to be in before games, 2 hours, 3 hours before. Same with Rangers coming to Celtic Park. So they've tried all these things. Was there enough presence there to say, right, you can't go nowhere anywhere?
Maybe the presence should have been stronger around the pitch.
I think.
See, when it came to penalties, when it came to the penalties, you knew something. It could be a flashpoint, right? Penalties. One group of fans were going to be really disappointed.
Yes.
That was going to happen. And I'm sure they'll be looking at it to say, right, what was the presence there? Was there a big enough show of force at each end of the ground? Sorry, Duncan, you're going to come back in.
But is that not telling you something? Football should be a game that you walk up to the stadium and enjoy it.
Absolutely. I agree with 100%. No, I agree with you.
It's absolutely shocking that the Celtic fans, and I'm not sticking up for them at all, they've got to be in 3 hours before the kick-off.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it's exact same with Rangers as well, Duncan. I know, and I agree with you 100%. And it's not nice because we all used to love going to the game and watching the game. No matter, we're a lot more supporters than there is nowadays, remember. So I've been there, and it was really enjoyable. There was you could say a toxic atmosphere for 90 minutes, and then there's some incidents outside, but nothing, that people would write home. But everybody now in football are just waiting, and I genuinely think before this game, everybody was hoping there was going to be a flashpoint of some sort so they can ban fans. That's what I think in myself as well. And I
do
think,
you?
Yeah, I do. Because the build up to the game, Paul, all I kept reading was about saying, oh, well, if anything happens, all the fans will be banned again. And you kept reading this, so people were expecting things like this to happen. So I'm thinking, well, security's going to be there anyway, so how's anything less going to happen? Unfortunately, at the end of the game, it does happen. So we shot ourselves in the foot,
Craig?
really.
Yeah, no, I think that, Duncan, I think you raise a really, really good point, right? The aftermath and what we've seen wasn't great. There's obviously going to be a debriefing, investigation, all those kind of things. But I think it would be great to see Rangers and Celtic stand together along with the SFA and try and get a message across that this type of thing is unacceptable. But rather than working individually, I think it would be a good moment and good opportunity to come together.
And they had to come together last time after the 1980. There was a huge report. The government had to intervene, and then there was no alcohol. And I heard people last year saying alcohol back in. I remember it then, and I'm thinking, I'm not that sure about it. Everyone's great for a couple, and then eventually, most people behave, but there is the problem then when some of them have too much. Duncan, thank you for your call. Joe is on from Hillhead saying, what do we do about fans wearing balaclavas? And this is a real issue for the police and stewards. How on earth has clothing associated with criminality become the fashion for so-called ultras? It's almost impossible to police. The necessity here is to change the culture, or get the fans to self-police. That's difficult for fans though, isn't it? On both areas, the younger fans, there's a self-entitled, not all of them, but there is, you see it, Peter, the away support at Celtic Park as well, at Rangers.
That's the thing that disappoints me, Paul, I must admit. I loved when Celtic supporters came with their jerseys on, their tammies, their scarves, and that was it. Rangers did the exact same. And that's the thing I miss about it, I must admit.
They're not doing that anymore, are they?
Nobody goes to it. There's people there with their scarf and on, but it used to be that was your uniform going to the match, your scarf and your hat and your jersey on, and that was you loved that, and you all sat together, and then you went away back together, blah blah blah, and it does look completely different for me, and I'm a great believer in that as well.
But wearing a balaclava to a game of football, or having a balaclava, is not a good sign. No, because there's only one thing that you're potentially up to in that game, and that's mischief. And
how can you police that? Because they can't search everyone and say, well, it shows you, the balaclava can be hidden. It's a real problem. And it's such a pity that for these number of years, since 2018, there have been no fans. I never thought this was a good thing. The police knew how to police these events. No major incidents really happened. I don't think. There was the 1980, but they've got out of the way of doing it. And the fans, there's a heightened expectation. You said, Peter, some people thought this is going to go wrong. I didn't think about it beforehand there. I hope they learn from it.
100%, because we've all been crying out. The supporters as well have been crying out.
Don't stop the fans
exactly
from going.
Well, don't misbehave then, and we can keep the numbers in, because it's so important, and it sells round the world how important this game is to both. And I never ever want to lose that 90 minutes feeling. Never ever want to lose that. What you got with supporters and players and whatever. And that's why I think the players have been done a misservice in this particular match, because I thought the two of them battled to win a game at football.
Duncan, thank you for your call. We're all coming to see the Spartans the next time. We're back with your call next.
Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
Yep, it's the Scottish Cup semi-finals coming up in April, and it's going to be Celtic St Mirren and Dunfermline against Falkirk. What a game that's going to be. I mean, there's a derby for that one, because they don't really get on, do they, Peter?
No, they do not.
Don't know why I'm looking at you.
I know.
We former Dunfermline manager.
Absolutely. Neil done a fantastic job there, and they were brilliant against Aberdeen. Thoroughly deserved it. Could have been more. I thought they were excellent all round for the first minute of the game to the last, and then they thoroughly deserved their victory. People say Aberdeen weren't very good, but I thought Dunfermline were outstanding.
And what about Giovanni McGlynn, the manager of Falkirk? Craig, if he had a name, maybe a more glamorous, and John's one of my names, I'm not saying nothing again. My grandfather was John, very proud of it. But do you know what I mean? What about John McGlynn? Can you talk up till 6 o'clock? He deserves it.
No, I mean, he's been excellent again. I think that the journey that the club has been on for the last 5 years has been incredible. And they've managed to do it in an entertaining way. I looked at the squad last season and I thought, you know what, they're going to have to bring in some bodies to compete and be decent in the Premier League. Yeah, they've brought in a few, but predominantly majority of the players have been there. And it's just really, really excellent to see. I think 9 of the starting 11 maybe as well Scottish as well.
Which is brilliant, isn't it?
Brilliant.
One player at the Old Firm game, Scottish, is that right?
Yeah.
It started, Luke McCown, that was it.
That's a bit.
Well, what's happened to us? Hey,
I told you, Paul, don't get me on about
No, I know.
too many subs at youth level. End
Sure.
off. That's the
It
problem.
is such a shame, isn't it? Dave's on the line in Thurso, holding on. Hi, Dave, good evening.
Evening, Paul.
Evening,
Hi,
Dave.
Peter.
Evening, Dave.
Greg, how you doing?
Good, thanks, Dave. So you've been following Celtic and Scottish football for a long time. What's your take on it tonight?
I really think we want to stop the hysteria, Paul. It's getting out of hand.
Okay.
I mean, banning the away support of 7,500 people for the behaviour of 200 or 300 is an admission of defeat as far as I'm concerned.
Agreed. Guys, do you
Over
agree?
the years,
Yeah.
we've watched the numbers at games or the ratio of games from the police numbers compared to the stewarding numbers, and the clubs have constantly dropped the police numbers and increased the amount of stewards because they're cheaper. So that's something they need to look at as well.
Great point.
I think we need to ask Police Scotland. Was your chief superintendent who said that away fans at derbies were unmanageable? I think she wants to look at the organisation if she thinks that's the limit of their abilities or the limit of their remit, because they need to be. If that hadn't kicked off in the stadium on Sunday, it had kicked off in the city centre.
I was surprised at that comment.
For trouble from both sides.
I was surprised at her comment about the number of them. 7,500 over the years, they were able to easily manage them. And then you're focusing on couple of hundred that came on? A couple of hundred. Surely we are better than that as a society. But this is what's going to happen. There's so many, and there's good people there, in the police, of course they are. But football people saying, oh yeah, no away fans anymore.
But
it's going to kill the game.
Dave made a point there, and I think he's right. But the stewards, it's not the police. There's a lot of stewards there, Paul, and I'm thinking, no chance. If anything happens, and it's not been disrespectful, it's fact. When you look at it and you're thinking, if I seen a policeman there and the policeman's got that authority, there's definitely someone that would think twice.
Yeah, but that thing is, it's some of them, it's not all of them.
Absolutely.
It's still the younger ones.
Absolutely.
They've got no fear. Authority means nothing to them.
You saw it, the ones that came in beforehand at the Broom Loan, that came in, some of the young Celtic fans came in without tickets. And I didn't see police there at all. The police can't be everywhere, but Dave, I think that's a good point. They have to look at it. Let's see a clarity. Has the ratio changed because the policing is more expensive? I don't know. I think they're going to have to be more upfront about it. Otherwise, we're going to lose away fans at games.
Well, Paul, I'm going to ask a question. How did they do it then? When I made my debut in '84, behind the Celtic, behind the Celtic end, obviously Celtic had that and half the main stand. At Celtic Park, I think it was 18,000. So how did they police that then in and out the stadium, and people not coming on the pitch at that particular time? I know people say societal now, people don't have respect anymore. There's one way of doing that, bringing that respect back then, being allowed to do things. Everyone's too much. Oh, you're not allowed to do this. Or if somebody goes on the pitch, can you strike them or whatever? If they're doing something wrong, they should. And that's the problem for me, is there's no, what do you call it?
Deterrent.
That's the word, Paul. 100%. And the police should be given them that strength to do that if someone's misbehaving. No matter if it's at a football match or in life in general. And I think the numbers have dwindled, and I think the security, because, and I see it, Paul, I just don't think it's as strong because of the amount of people that's there, and it's not police that's there. There is security, but I don't see the other ones being strong enough to deal with incidents like the weekend.
And the stewards on minimum wage, I would imagine, compared to police officers who are highly trained. I'm just looking, here's a direct quote from the Chief Superintendent, Emma Croft, who said, "But I put that in the context of 2026. So today, I don't have the luxury of a significant number of officers. The club operation should be in a position to respond, and we will support that accordingly." I think, reading between the lines, she's basically saying the club should have more stewards and they have fewer officers in general. I think that's what has happened, but I don't know the actual
facts. Are they trained to deal with it, Paul? That's what I'm saying.
Exactly, sure.
That's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
Are they trained to deal with
if
it?
You see the Paul was there, it's like, wow.
But they trained to deal with it. Are they physically trained to deal with an incident happening? They stop that. And that is the problem. That's the point I'm making. I'm not being critical of the police, or I'm not being critical of the stewards. What I'm saying is, are they trained to deal with an incident that happens like that? Are they physically? And I've seen it myself, and they're not. I'm telling you that now. They're not.
Can I just ask someone?
Sure. Of course. On you go, Dave.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, you're right, Paul. I've been watching Scottish football a long time, and before the 1980 Cup final, I was watching Scottish football back in the 1970s. Celtic Rangers Cup finals at Hampden. 100,000 plus fans, 50-50 split. Nothing like the trouble there was. Because it's policed properly, and as Peter said, there's no respect just now, and there's no the numbers. You know, the stewards, they don't get paid enough, as you say. They don't get paid enough to challenge people coming out in the park. But if it's a police officer's uniform, there might be a different attitude to them that are going in the park. But they've done it in the past for far bigger crowds.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Dave,
I'm glad Dave's saying that.
No, sure.
He wants the supporters in for both sets. We're not saying Celtic or Rangers. We're saying both sets of supporters to get their allocation. As long as everybody's safe, it's there to watch a game of football.
Would you hope the Rangers fans are in about 2,500 to 3,000 in the final game of the season?
Yeah, they should be. They should be.
Craig?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that, because again, it's like it's a way that we want to see these matches, because it does provide the atmosphere. We just hope that it's done in a safe way, and we hope that they can get to that decision, Paul. So I think it's positive.
I hear what you say about the hysteria. I think it is time the two clubs said something, and one of the callers before, Duncan, suggested that there's a kind of joint. They speak together, because look, we know they don't like each other. And actually, those years where they weren't allowing fans into the ground, and Rangers started it, but Celtic did it first. When I agree with Andy Walker, I think Celtic should have said, you know what, you're welcome at Celtic Park. They should have. They should have, Craig. But Rangers said, no, we're not. I think it was Stephen Gerrard, and they said, man, why are we having opposition fans in? This has all happened bit by bit. Nobody should be on the pitch. Absolutely. But they've got out of the way of policing it, stewarding it, just the atmosphere around it, the hysteria.
Yeah, but just because you don't like one another, Paul, that doesn't mean that you can't come together to find a better outcome for Scottish football.
Dave, thanks so much for your call.
Dave.
The first hour is flown. Let's talk football in the next hour. Thanks, Dave.
Cheers, Dave.
Take care. The news is next, then we're back. Hour two, Paul Cooney here with Craig Moore and Peter Grant. Champions League night. That seems a long way away, doesn't it, Craig, when we had the music on and we had both of them in. Was that 3 years ago, 4 years ago they were both in?
Yep.
Wasn't a great season results-wise for either of the big two. But Champions League. Yeah, well, that's I was about to say to you, Peter. A year and a month ago.
That was probably the one that broke the camel's back, really, because that was the next step they wanted to make, and obviously you lose a few players and don't replace them, and then you end up out of Europe. Listen, Martin's few results in Europe were probably the highlight so far.
Yeah, sure.
Coming back, because there were some wonderful away performances. Indeed.
Liverpool in action in the early game. Keep you up to date on that tonight. Galatasaray. Craig, did you play there? That's one of the noisiest grounds to go to, isn't it?
And it's one of the many that I never played at due to injury, Paul. But I mean, I've heard so much about Turkish football, and especially that Galatasaray game. An electric atmosphere there as well. Yeah. Peter,
Newcastle against Barca tonight at St James's.
Phenomenal game that. You know, because one thing about Newcastle supporters, they're getting not up and down results. Eddie will be disappointed with some of the results. I think they've got the players that can hurt Barcelona. Do you know that?
Right.
Obviously, Barcelona have got top quality players, but generally, St James's Park's one of the places, Paul, Craig knows better than me, that can get your result out of nothing. That's what I always feel about that in the cup competition.
Great supporters, Paul. Yeah. And when you're nice and positive, and if you go and you can nick that goal and all that sort of stuff, they give you a huge lift and stay behind you to the very end.
Absolutely.
And of course, here tonight, Ayr against Queen's Park. In the Championship.
It's a big game for Queen's Park. I fancy Ayr would be too strong for them, but Queen's Park had a big result last week when they beat Airdrie, didn't they? That was a big result for them, because I think they had a couple of injuries prior to it. So, massive result.
They've been very good, Queen's Park. You were really worried about them there for a bit, but they've put some consistency and some really good results together. And I would not be disappointed if they did didn't get something, although Ayr have been really, really good. But I just think Queen's Park have got a bit of form behind them.
Galatasaray have gone one up on Liverpool. So an early goal there from Lemina. That's a 5:45 kick-off. And your old club, Alloa, playing at Peterhead tonight. Peter.
Yeah, Andy Graham's done a fantastic job there. A magnificent job, and I'm delighted for him. He's a captain when I was there. Great boy, always wanted to be involved in football as a manager going forward, and I'm no surprised he's done such a fantastic job there.
League 2, Annan against Elgin and Dumbarton against Stranraer. What did you make of the couple of the games at the weekend? Motherwell, that is, well done, Bertil Askew, Jens Bertil Askew, manager of the month. It's the curse that happens, isn't it, Craig? Sometimes you get it. They hadn't lost a goal for 6.5 hours of football, but they lost at Dundee at the weekend. Peter, you were watching the whole of the game.
Yeah, I did. I was really impressed with Dundee again because they defend well against the ball because, as Motherwell, everybody knows, they move the ball well. But I always thought Dundee were always in the game, and I like the way they play. I think Stephen's done a fantastic job. You're talking about Manager of the Month. I thought his results have been magnificent, considering where he was at the start of the season. And I thought they were excellent at the weekend. Simon Murray's, for me, still a catalyst for them. Even though everybody else gets the headlines, I still think he's a catalyst.
He should have had a cap, surely.
At the particular time, Paul, when they were going to win, Scotland were struggling for strikers without a shadow of a doubt. And it doesn't matter his age.
See, when you see the stats of some of the players and take the name away, you go, who is that boy? He can score goals, okay? He's Scottish. He didn't ever get a cap. And they bring so many in. They bring them in from elsewhere. And you think, well, they can hardly kick a barn door, but they pay loads of money for them, Craig. Something is going wrong there.
And this, and to defend against this, he gives every defender an absolute nightmare. He's one of those ones. I remember back in the day, was it James Grady?
Yes.
He was another one. Listen, he used to just nip away at your heels constantly, no matter what the score was. He's a little bit like that, but great guy off the field as well.
It's going to switch back to the league very shortly, but we will talk about Dunfermline as well. What a performance. And Craig, to you first, Dunfermline thumping Aberdeen. If we were Radio Aberdeen, it would be non-stop Aberdeen fans saying, what's happening here? But what about Dunfermline then?
Dunfermline were excellent. They really were. Neil Lennon had them set up, very organised, but, were a threat from early doors. They had pace, they had power. And like in these kind of moments, especially for the supposed underdogs, that first goal, really, really important. It gave them a huge lift. They were able to go and get the second. And Aberdeen, I really don't know what's... I mean, Aberdeen looked a real poor bunch, but without taking anything away from Dunfermline, because they went and gave it to Aberdeen very, very strongly and got... It was actually a great result. Not a surprise for some.
No, indeed. Matty Todd and a double from Ollie Thomas. Your old club, you still got an affection for them there.
Yeah, and I was delighted for young Matty Todd. I mean, he was one of these guys, he was infectious. Sometimes he was one of these guys in training, used to have to... And I never liked calming anybody down.
No, I know.
But Matty would injure so many of his own players.
Really?
And himself.
Did he learn it from you, Peter?
But he was so intense, Paul, and he was the loveliest kid, but he was a fantastic young man, and he can play. And he's one of these guys, if you said play right back or outside left, he would play it, and he'd play it well. So I was delighted for him, but I agree with Craig 100%. Neil's team was organised. They dominated every position on the pitch. And if you're a manager and you say you come off a game and you think every one of your players has dominated his area, you're not going to be far wrong, and that's what Dunfermline done and thoroughly deserved the result.
Back to, it's going to be Celtic St Mirren in the semi-final. What about the quarter-final then? Let's hear from the managers again. There's more of your calls coming in, 0808 17 17 700. This was Martin O'Neill about his players holding their nerve during the match at Ibrox.
Yeah, they did. I must admit that they took them brilliantly. They were obviously under a lot of pressure to do it, and so to step up and take that kick, to take that walk for a start, which I said that you can't really do it. You can take penalties, which we did, but you can't really. What shall I say? You just don't know what it's like until you step up and take the penalties, and it was pleasing to see how well they did it.
And what about his goalkeeper, Sinisalo?
He did really well for us. He did really well. He was. I just asked him, could he command the 6-yard box, and he did that wonderfully well. And when it looked as if he might have been beaten, then somebody else got the block on for him. So I was really delighted with him.
Peter? Sinisalo, he'll be hard to leave out.
Oh, you can't leave him out, Paul. Now, you know, I thought Martin spoke about there was a couple of crosses he had to come for and he handled them really, really well. And I think that's so important. What I like about him is there a calmness about him. You know, and I'm not a big Jordan Pickford fan because of that. Because if I was playing in the back four and he was jumping about, diving about like that and screaming all the time, I'd be losing my head. And Craig will probably say something different as a centre back. He would know that as well. And I think Sinisalo brings that. But he had great protection in front of him. Because when you think of the game, there wasn't many saves he had to make. There was one save, I think, and I think it was Chermiti was offside, and it was a brilliant save. He had to react to it. But I think that was the only time. But he's so much blocks in front of him, which surprised me. Like, say, Trusty came to the fore. You know, Liam Scales was brilliant at left back. But you go right along the back four, and even the changes that come on.
Murray had a good block.
Murray was brilliant when he come on, heading the ball, dominate.
Under pressure after, you know, the mistake the week before.
He'd done one again, Paul. He's got to get better. See, when the ball comes in for the opposite side, he swings it with his left, and he swung one again, it went by for a corner. And then the next one came in, he cleared it fantastically well. So when you're looking at it as a coach, that's one of the things you look at and say that's one of the things he has to do better. But everything else, I think he's been outstanding because he's quick, he's dominant, he's aggressive, and he's brave. And that's what you need to be a defender. And Craig will say that better than me.
Sure.
But Sinisalo is, listen, he's had to watch from the bench for a long time, when there was probably a few question marks over Schmeichel. Let's be honest, in terms of his form. And now that he has come in, and I agree with you, Peter, he does show what you like to see from a goalkeeper is consistency. Same with defenders and all that sort of stuff. And that's, you know, your 7-7-7s. You don't want to see an unbelievable game and then poor. He's come in and done a very good job, and it's his jersey now to lose.
What did you make of the Rangers team, Craig? Just thinking of successes for them?
You know what? There was no real surprise because of obviously what kind of seen in the previous game. I guess me looking in terms of the lack of creative moments for Rangers, and probably the desire, my desire to try and fit the better players into a starting 11. I probably would have had Tav in there. I probably would have went to 5 at the back, which meant obviously, you know, whether it was Tavernier or even if it was Sterling, I think that there would be versatility there, but one might go, one might stay. But in terms of deliveries and real opportunity, midfield, then that looks a little bit lighter, but I think you can bring in a Mikey Moore to play inside with... I just think that maybe something slightly different. I think that Tavernier's copped a lot of flack for many a year, but I still think he's one of the most likely players for Rangers when he's out there on that field. And
yet he's probably not going to be there next season, or is he? Do you think if you were the manager, would you be giving him a new contract?
I mean, let's forget if I was a manager for a minute. If I was Tavernier and I'm not playing, would I want to continue my time at the football club? I mean, every player wants to play games, don't they?
Of course. How about Giga? Was he one of the successes back in your...
Listen, I think defensively, the central defenders has been pretty much a mixed bag majority of the season. I think it has kind of got a little bit more stable under Danny Roll, because I think the protection in terms of he likes to play a little bit more compact. But look, Fernandez has grown. There's no doubt about that. For me, Suter's always going to play with his heart on his sleeve, but sometimes I think he makes poor decisions defensively. Jigger, again, in out, kind of struggled a little bit. I don't think anybody has really been amazing all season in that position.
How do Rangers get back to winning? That was the question put to the manager afterwards.
I think this is our job. That is how I will also take the energy, the positive things from the games. I think, again, we improved in the last 7 days again, how we want to play. From my side, I see a clear direction, how a Rangers team should be. And there's no question mark for me that we go again and again. And my belief, my positive energy is more than here. If you know me longer, I'm not the guy to go too much inside. I'm more the fighter to go again, and with this confidence, I'm the leader of the group. I will show them on during the week how good we are and what we can achieve. And 6 points in football goes quick. It could be 2 match days, and then we will speak in a different way, and we will try everything.
Paul, for me, Rangers will have arrived when they're not thinking about how they can win a big match. They're winning big matches. It really is that simple. You know, at the moment, it's like, you know, what do Rangers need to do to be able to win those big matches? When you're there and you're winning those matches, those real important matches, that's when you know you are where you need to be. I don't think Rangers are quite there yet. I know, Peter, you're saying that you still think maybe the title run in that Rangers are a chance. I'm probably not feeling that Rangers have got a chance of winning the title. I just don't feel as if there's enough, and I've said it for quite a while, that mid to final thirds, that creativity, I don't think that there's enough weapons there to hurt teams on a consistent basis in this title running.
But Danny Rule, 9 games to go. He said, I've got 9 cup finals to go. I mean, he sounded so down after the weekend because Rangers went in as the favourites.
Yes.
I think even Celtic fans probably didn't have, and you had the feeling that Rangers thought, this is our chance for silverware.
Yep.
So, of course, still chance to win. So it's only 9 games. St Mirren away this weekend, Aberdeen at home, Dundee United at home, Falkirk away. And then, of course, it's the final 5 games, the split. So, so Peter thinks, you know, Celtic all his life is saying, yeah, Rangers might do it. So I'm thinking, if I'm Andrew Kavanagh, I'm thinking, Danny, come on, this could be phenomenal. I've invested 40 million, a lot of it not on your watch. It was Russell Martin. I just wonder, what's he going to do? Because Rangers are still in it, albeit the momentum is gone.
I think you've got to take the supporters' hat off at times. When you look at it and you think to yourself, the amount of chances they've tried to create and the amount of balls they've got in the box, I think the manager talked about 25, but it was fantastic defending with Celtic. So you've got to give them credit for that. They scored 4 against Hearts. I know they've lost goals and drew.
That was the best game, wasn't it?
I'm saying Livingston, they dropped 2 goals and whatever, people are talking about that. But they're creating opportunities. I just think there's been an important times in the games, and maybe Craig's right, the substitute. I thought the taking Nadiri off against Celtic was a wrong choice. I thought if he was going to make a sub the other day there, if we wanted to take one of his strikers off or whatever, I'd have put Mikey Moore in behind. Because Celtic were playing a flatter midfield, and Mikey Moore causes you a problem in there. So I know he brought Berjami on, who, if you're playing against a Cal McGregor, because remember, Celtic weren't playing with that one anymore. You know, so I think he could have gambled with that, and you could have got Mikey Moore into a position. So maybe the substitutions at certain times, but I think Danny Rowe has done a fantastic job for Rangers. I think they're very well in the fight. There is no doubt that the 3 teams, Motherwell maybe be disappointed with the big points dropped at the weekend, but Motherwell could jump straight back into it with a victory at Celtic Park at the weekend, which Celtic know is going to be a really, really tough game. But Rangers, for me, they're definitely not out it because the teams are so close, Paul. And they scored, as I said, they scored 4 against Hearts. They scored 3 at Celtic Park. So he's definitely doing something right. But it's like everything else. As soon as you're not winning games of football, important one, and especially when it's against your rival, everybody questions everything. That's when the manager, this is when you'll know if he's a good manager.
Exactly, yeah.
Will he be able to stay focused and say, listen, we've got to forget the noise out there. This is what we're doing really well. And that's the thing I'd be throwing at the players. And I think the big part of that, if he wants to continue playing with his 2 strikers, is James Tavernier at right back.
Not disagreeing. I know, exactly, sure.
You always, listen, the greatest managers, right? In the history of football, always try to get their best players onto the field. However, you know what I mean. You look at Scotland, you look at Tierney Robinson. How many times has Steve Clark got the both of them in? You want to get.
That's right. He found a way and it worked.
You get your best players in the team. Tavernier is one of the better players, most experienced at the football club. And for me, still so much to deliver for them.
And Danny Rule, good manager, is he a winner? That's going to be the question.
Time will tell.
It is, exactly. Yeah, the Rangers fans they're desperate for it, and the cup has gone. Over at Celtic, Martin O'Neill was asked afterwards then, because we're looking now at the title, because Hearts, we've not even mentioned the Hearts, who are they champions elect, 63 points after the 29. Celtic on 58, Rangers 57, Motherwell on 53. So Martin O'Neill was asked afterwards, does this win today impact what's going to happen in the league?
I genuinely do not know. You know, honestly, I don't know. There's going to be twists and turns. I went to Dundee yesterday with Sean and Mark Fotheringham, watched the game, so we've got Motherwell next, which will not be easy for us. So I honestly don't know.
Yeah. So, Peter, what you would say?
I agree. Yeah. I agree, Paul, because I don't think it's even I don't know. It's no. The answer is no, because It's what you do next.
Sure.
It's not about the Rangers game will have no effect on it. You know, because everybody thought Celtic were playing their 4 games there that they had to play.
Away
They're
from
going
home.
to be tired.
Yeah.
They went in extra time. They found a way to dig in. And did anybody expect that with the team they had? Did they dig in and they got a result in penalty kicks, even though it was penalty kicks? But they show that energy still, have that concentration level, and that's what it takes at this time. Sometimes you've just got to fight and scratch when you're not playing at your best. And I could say about that about Celtic all season. You know, and I'm only talking about Celtic in this respect, but the game last week has no effect of what's going to happen against Motherwell. You know, that's a fact, and Craig will know what you do against Motherwell. You hopefully win. That's another one down. And that's the way you go between now and the end of the season.
But there's no guesswork with Celtic in terms of they have not been at their best. I think any Celtic supporter will say that. But the mentality is still spot on. That mentality in terms of, you know, a lot of games recently and all that sort of stuff, people are always looking for excuses. You know, but they found and are continuing to find a way. I tell you what, Motherwell will be a real handful, though, for Celtic this weekend. That'll be really tough match.
Going to come to that game. Final word on mentality then. We heard last night Danny Rule, just a short answer from him. But he was asked again about it and he expanded.
I think let's describe this. After, the last game 7 days ago, we felt disappointed. But today we saw from the first minute on a team who were totally convinced to beat the opponent. I saw a team from our side to play 120 minutes how we want to. We should score. I think this is then also, if you want, in this final 2-3 moments, compliment to the defense from the other team. But when you have 24 to 1 shot, when you create so many great opportunities, then I must say I'm proud of my group, how we played football. I know football is about the result. We get nothing today again from this game. But when I take the 50 minutes last week and today the 120 minutes, then I see a lot of positive things.
Craig, a lot of positive things. But no goals.
Look, for me, Paul, I'm certainly not going to sit here and say that I don't think Danny Roll has made improvements to Rangers. I think he has. There's no doubt about that. I think that a lot of the Rangers supporters, have kind of sensed, for obvious reasons, that there's a real opportunity to win the title this year. Celtic not being at their absolute best. I mean, Hearts obviously got a handy lead at the moment and will hang on for dear life. But I think that a lot of Rangers fans will judge Danny on whether or not he can lift that title this season, and he's unfortunately gone out of the cup now again. And there's a big demand on winning trophies at the football club, and that's the pressure that comes at Rangers at this particular moment in time on the back of not hugely successful years. It's about how can you go and win trophies. But I want to be clear. I think Danny Roll, like I said, I think he has come in and really steadied the place because it was all over the shop. It really was. It was in such a poor state. Players had no belief, no structure, no organisation, where that seems to be in place at the moment. The next part, Paul, is to go and win trophies. And to be able to go and win trophies, I still think that he needs to find something more in the mid to final third consistently.
Craig Moore, Peter Grant here in the Go Radio Football Show. We're back after this. We are Tuesday night, Paul Cooney, living the dream alongside Craig Moore and Peter Grant. Tomorrow night in the programme it's going to be Mark Guidi and Aiden McGeady joining us tomorrow night. He was some player you came up against him, I would imagine, when he was a young player coming through, Craig.
Yeah, I mean, he had a fantastic career, didn't he? I tell you what, he was electric, dribbling with the ball, fast feet, could shift it quickly. Certainly not a defender's, a bit of a defender's nightmare is what I'm trying to get
go
at.
either way.
Peter?
That was Coached him when Tony was back. Aiden was there. No, a terrific player, there was no doubt of that. And then went to Russia, obviously, for a lot of money. A hell of a lot of money then. You know, but he was a terrific player. He could go either way very, very quick. He had that flip-flop, didn't he? He just went by defenders. And he could leave you standing, make you look foolish. Thank God I didn't play against him because he'd been booted into the stand.
They love him at the Stadium of Light as well, don't they?
Yeah, no,
like
no.
He did at Sunderland,
well.
at Hibs and then Ayr United just until a year or two ago. So Aiden McGeady joins us here with the winning team tomorrow night in the Go Radio Football Show. with Burger King, so it'll be a Whopper Wednesday tomorrow. And Mark Guidi, of course, who's...
What a goalie.
He doesn't... the goalie,
what
don't you start. It's okay. I can do that when he's here, but
unbelievable.
He's not here.
Unbelievable when he played for Albion Rovers. I think he saved a penalty once, he keeps telling us. You know,
is that right? He's still dining out on it.
He dines out. I
plays the sevens and all the rest, doesn't he? With Big Charlie, Chris Boyd.
And my son was playing with him as well.
Is that right? Which one? Raymond.
Raymond was playing with him this morning. I don't think Mark is in goals. I think the goals are too small for him.
Is he a good player? Does it take it? Is it in the family blood? Does he take after Lorraine?
Yeah, he does. Good left foot like Lorraine.
Raymond and Peter, of course. Good when you were home. A couple of people asking, Craig, it's great to see you back. I watched a little bit of you. I was up in Aberdeen, Kilt Walk business. I liked your comment about Richard Gough, though. I did like that. If he wasn't playing when he was captain, he'd have been out the door.
Again, that's not. I've just not made that up. That's actually a conversation with Goughy and all that when we've spoken about Rangers and what have you. And he goes, Muro. He says, "You tell you what." He says, "See, when I was captain, all that sort of stuff. If the great man Walter Smith says, you know what, you're on the bench, Goughy, and all that," he said, "Yeah, no, I would have said, no problem, Walter. Thanks very much. I'm away tomorrow." He goes, "Captain can't be dropped." And that was Goughy, but Goughy was also very, very sure of himself. And by the way, what a captain, and what a central defender he really was. I tell you what, talk about know how to get a goal, and put yourself in positions where you know you're maybe going to take a sore one. He had all of that, and he had a real lift and desire. At times, I think he thought he was a central midfielder and that sort of stuff. You know, we're chasing games and all that. He was the first one that was bombing on.
Well, he could score a goal. He played right back at Dundee United at the start, obviously.
Yeah.
Enough, as I say, when he came back to Rangers, him and Terry Butcher, you know, Andy didn't need to come off his line, God rest him, but what a goalkeeper he was. So he didn't come for anything. They headed it away, and then they missed. He saved it. So that was a sort
Peter,
of back
before the break, we heard from Danny Rule, and I saw you taking some notes there. So Danny Rule, there is a wee bit of the Kool-Aid there, isn't there? That he's saying about all the chances you've noted down.
No, well, there was only thing last couple of weeks. The sort of wee thing he said about Celtic's team, about the goalkeeping situation and all that. He's got a choice to make, all that sort of stuff. He shouldn't get sucked into that, Paul. Craig's mentioned somebody there, the great Walter Smith, and the managers I played under would never have spoke about the opposition. But the Rangers fans sitting in the bar after the game on Saturday or Sunday, wouldn't have been saying, "Oh, we had 25 shots to 1." That goes back to that moral victory. We said Philip Clement, who's done a fantastic job at Norwich, by the way.
He is, isn't he?
But as I say, when he made that comment, I thought, oh, you've got to be careful what you say, because all Celtic and Rangers fans want is their team to win. And they never had 25 shots and goals. They were blocked with defenders, and that was their job. You know, Sinisalo never had a save to make. So you've got to be very, very careful. And they're the small details that I think he's got to learn on, because I think he's done a terrific job. And I said to you at the time, many months ago, I thought he was the choice for the job. I was glad he'd pulled out. I thought it was better.
That's right, because remember he was out of it and then came back
I thought it was better. If it was between him and Gerrard, I said to you, I thought he'd be a better role for them. Forgive the pun.
Indeed.
You know, and he's proven that. He's proven that. And that's why I think there's still a fight in the dog. I really do. I think there is, and that's why
the
I
young
think
dog. He's only 36, so you know you wonder who he's listening to, because he didn't put foot wrong until before the Celtic game. You know, 2 weeks ago.
Don't get sucked into that. Don't get sucked into that.
Does he have a mentor? Has he spoken?
That's what I wonder. I don't know. I'd be interested.
I think I have read something.
Since one of the German.
In terms of somebody who's worked with at national team level.
Of course.
With quite a reputation, he must have somebody.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. I watched that German programme I told you, Paul, and he had a big say with the players, with Hansi Flick and all that. You know,
because
he
was 34, 35. It's Hansi Flick.
You know, and that's who he. To be fair to him, he had a lot of say in that World Cup. I know they never had a great World Cup, but it was top quality players, the Thomas Müllers and all that of this world. So he's definitely got a fantastic reputation. But I think he's done a really good job at Rangers. But he's just got to be careful he doesn't get sucked into that one. About 25 shots, but it's all about winning up here.
And what about Paul? And Derek McInnes has got Sir Alex Ferguson.
Yeah, indeed. I know. What do you make of it? Yeah.
I'll tell you what do I make? The amount of experience and know-how that Sir Alex has.
It's that Aberdeen connection, isn't it? Because Derek was, 9 years as manager there. Sir Alex, of course. The statue there up in Aberdeen. Do you know, I saw the Dennis Law statue in town. I was going to a meeting at Marischal Square next to the college, and there it is. Dennis Law. I mean, he was just phenomenal. Our all-time top scorer, along with Sir Kenny Dalglish, of course, at international level.
Players, were they?
Yeah, indeed.
Oh God Almighty! And Sir Alex Ferguson just rounded it up there perfectly well. And listen, Derek's right. No, for all the knowledge he's got, there's always wee snippets you're going to get off Sir Alex. What did he do in the run-in when it was becoming to that bit, as Sir Alex called it, squeaky bum time?
That's right.
Because we're definitely next to that now. That's for sure.
Sure are. Yep. Good time to call to speak to Peter or Craig, or both of them. We've brought the big two together here on the Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. So the Rangers Fan Advisory Board and the Rangers Supporters Association have issued a statement this afternoon. They're deeply concerned with the handling of the match by Police Scotland. They consider it to have been wholly inadequate, and they say it created unnecessary risks for the fans. They say they're appalled that visiting supporters were allowed to storm the turnstiles before the match, so some of the Celtic fans, not for the first time, and then later to invade the pitch in reaction to events on it. But there's no mention of the Rangers fans coming on, unless I've missed it here. I don't think they do. Are fans placed in danger before and after the match by a chronic lack of segregation in Helen Street? So no doubt the police will look into that as well, if that is the case. And about the parking situation, and most disturbing, the abhorrent mockery yet again of the Ibrox disaster, the memory of the 66 desecrated by vile graffiti. Now listen, the two clubs came together at that point. There was a service in Glasgow Cathedral, and the managers were there, and the clubs were there, and the directors and the players. 66 people lost their lives. I mean, it's a moron that would do anything about that. They should absolutely cut it out. So you're right. I don't think that is disgusting. So collectively they're saying, we call on Rangers to take robust, decisive and public action in defence of the club. The handling of the fixture, from ticketing, allocation, decisions to policing arrangements, fell below standard, they're saying, and the support cannot be expected to tolerate repeated failures that compromise safety. And they've put the word dignity in. We'll never apologise for protecting the well-being of Rangers fans and continue to work. It's a pity you didn't say and criticise your fans coming on, many of them in balaclavas, going to the other side of the field. I mean, because everyone's saying the fans shouldn't be on the pitch. That's indisputable. But anyway, Craig, Peter, anything to say on it there?
No comment.
No comment.
Craig as well. Again, the comment obviously that's been put out there by the Rangers Fan Advisory Board, again, is kind of maybe saying that the police should have done better. The police have kind of released something that was kind of leading towards we need more support from the clubs. So, look, hopefully, like it says, that they can all come together to try and find the best solution to try and keep the best amount of away fans to get into these football matches. Another thing, Paul, that is separate to the running on the pitch and all that sort of stuff, and this is at any football match, and a lot of the away supporters do it, and I don't know how you can manage it, but they're going in and they're actually damaging stadiums, ripping up chairs, and who has to continually pick up these costs? And I'm sure that tickets are aligned with a particular person, so that's something that as well that I think that, again, just behaviour. Just behave and be a good person. Go and support your team and make it a place where your family can go and enjoy.
Because to just sit and say it's all about the other side or the police or whatever is wrong as well. Because, there are faults on all sides. Thomas has been on, a Hibs fan, saying, look, I agree with some of what was said last night in the programme. See, if you lose a game, you go home. He said the same thing happened in 2016, so that was when Hibs won the Cup against Rangers. The truth is, many of the Rangers fans can't take it. They should have just gone home. It turned out to be Celtic's day. Tough to take, but just suck it up and leave the ground. But the Celtic fans shouldn't have come on the pitch. They absolutely shouldn't. And the Rangers fans shouldn't come on the pitch either.
No, well, whether it's Rangers come on or Celtic come on, once you get one or two that have come on, then the natural reaction is what we've seen, unfortunately. And again, we know how emotional our game is. That does spill into to the fan base as well, and it can be dangerous, and we need to alleviate that from the game.
Thomas, the Hibs fan, he was at the match at Hampden. It's part of football. You're not going to win every game. You win some and you lose some. So this will go on and on. It was the front pages, the back pages, everywhere. On TV, you see it was on ITN, Sky News, everywhere. Talk Sport. So, Peter, be interesting to hear from the football clubs themselves, what they're going to try and do. Try and bring it together.
Yeah, for sure, Paul. But listen, I'd rather not talk about the police and that, but they've got to deal with it, But you see what happened. Everybody's seen what happened. Everybody's got something to say about it. Let's come up with an answer. But it's stupid someone coming out and blaming one side. Everybody's to blame in the build-up, whatever was done. So let's.
And one of the Celtic backroom team was attacked. Let's go watch what we say. Allegedly attacked because someone was lifted. There were 9 people arrested. So come on, we'll get nowhere if we just see it through blue or green tinted specs.
Well, of course, and that's why it's worth not commenting. I'd rather talk about the football and what the games is coming up because listen, it takes away from everything that happened at the weekend, and I think both sets of players deserve a lot of credit for what happened at the weekend with the performance because it wasn't a great game, but it was an intriguing game.
Yeah,
and I think that's the biggest thing. And these two teams are right in that fight for that league. It's going to go at the death. We could see this run in. Hearts have probably got a better run to the break. Yeah, they've probably got a better run.
Hearts have.
Yeah, I would say that.
Kilmarnock away, Dundee at home, Livy away.
If you look at it on
Motherwell,
paper,
I'm trying to tell them. Killy away, Dundee at home, Livy away, Motherwell at home.
Yeah. And I think they've got the best fixtures running into that. There's no doubt in my mind of that. And that's why you've got to be ready. And for me, that's what it's all about because it's been such, I don't mean quality season as in football-wise, but such an intriguing season. People are talking about 4 teams in the race at this time of the year. Celtic were usually home and Hoseby now in the last few years, so the bottom line is you've just got to give credit to these guys because I think there's a lot of twists and turns in this.
Are Motherwell in the race now after that disappointing result against Dundee?
Well, if they're not in the race, they'll have a hell of a big say in the race.
That I agree with, Peter. Yeah, I think that they're a great side, but I think that defeat to Dundee
scuppers that, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
For sure. 53 points for the Well. And Bert, I'll ask you, is he going to be the Celtic manager? What do you think? A few people are on asking they would like to see it. Mark's on.
There'll be a lot of people saying for any jobs, Paul. And listen, these boys I don't mean they're brought up Celtic supporters or Rangers supporters, so there'll be bigger guys out there looking at them as well, because of the quality he's done, and they'll look at how the budget he's done.
Peter Grant saying on Go Radio there's a bigger club than Celtic or Rangers. I know you're not.
No, what I'm saying, there's bigger clubs out there that'll be looking at him and saying to him, there's an opportunity to come abroad. Because people think this is his first job, Paul. It's not.
No, sure.
He's worked hard to get where he is. He's no mug. He's built a team here. I mean, nothing. And all of a sudden, listen, it'd be fantastic if you go there. You've got to then go and there'll be a lot of changes at Celtic Football Club. Yep. And whoever's going to go in there, as manager, has got to go and stamp his authority right away. And he'll know the type, Craig's talked about it, you'll know the type of player he wants for Celtic, but he also knows the expectation that comes with Celtic. You don't get drawn your first 7 or 8 games. You have to win the first 7 or 8 games. That's a different pressure altogether.
Right.
And we're seeing what happens now. Danny Rowe's under pressure for being the saviour because he's lost to Celtic and drawn a game against it. That's how quickly it changes,
But how hard, Peter? How hard will Motherwell try to keep him?
Oh, for sure.
But look, come on. If you've got Celtic coming in, the difference in the budget will be... listen, Motherwell fans might come on and say, but there's almost inevitability about it.
Normally you think, Paul, the players that are doing well outside end up coming to the top 2, and it's the same for the right type of manager. Selfishly, I would love to see him stay another year at Motherwell because you just look at the way that he's turned that team around and the football that they've played. But maybe the opportunity of Celtic would be too big to turn down.
Mind you, just looking at the table, with them on 53, if they win at Celtic at the weekend, if they do what they did in January, I know it was a different Celtic, but they'd be on 56 points, 1 behind Rangers. And if Rangers against St Mirren away were to stumble, then they would be right back in there. And then it would be Hearts. And Hearts, how are they going to do? I know, Killie away, Neil McCann, Billy Dodds maybe listening on the way home from training and everything. They'll be thinking, we need to start picking up points again. It's going to be fascinating. Peter is directing the show now, so we are going to talk about the football. He's absolutely right. Quick break, and then we're back just after this.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
Just looking back at the weekend and looking forward to this weekend. So St Mirren got a big win and they needed it, Peter, didn't they?
Yes.
2-1 against Partick Thistle.
Yes, it was a tough game for them. I mean, Thistle had some good moments in the game and hit the post early in the game. And that can change things for you. And Mark had a lot of players out injured in cup tie because he had a few boys on loan, didn't he, as well, that have already been cup tied. So they've done fantastic, Thistle. And it's a brilliant result for Stevie Robinson. And listen, we're talking about Bertalascu. That's why you've got to be careful. Look at the job that Stevie Robinson's done. And then all of a sudden people say, Stevie Robinson shouldn't be at St Mirren, should be sacked. It just shows you how things turn. And that's when you've got to be very, very careful.
He's in a position potentially where he could win 2 cups.
The double, you're right.
It's incredible, but domestically has been tough. And by the way, there was a penalty that was Mark Wilson was
Dear.
was less than happy.
Yeah. Did you agree with him?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah,
100%.
Yeah, it would. It's a real tough one. They hit the post early doors and they started the game really well.
Yeah.
So Partick Thistle were unlucky. But yeah, St Mirren, Robinson's in a position potentially to double bubble.
They're not going to go down though, are they? Because they could win a double.
No.
Oh, they've got a trophy already, but they're not going down, are they?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Paul, I don't know.
Okay.
Because see, every team in this division, I look at that bottom six. Even if it goes into that bottom six, I don't fancy any of them.
Danger.
You
You're
talk
right.
about St
Yeah.
Mirren. Do you think you think to yourself, St Mirren are not on a run? Kilmarnock have not been on a run. Aberdeen have been terrible. You know what I mean? You think to yourself, hold on a minute, who's going to beat each other here? You know, and that's the problem you have, because you've all got to play each other, and they're all fighting for their life. There's not a big gap between them, apart from Livingston.
Sure.
But they will cause. They will cause
Absolutely.
some in
They
that
will.
bottom six. They will cause all sorts.
That's the biggest problem playing Livingston, because they maybe have nothing
That's
to
right.
play
Nothing
for.
to lose. Yeah.
Exactly.
Livy on 14, Kilmarnock on 21, St Mirren on 24, Aberdeen 29, Dundee on 31. And of course the derby this weekend there in the City of Discovery, United on 33 points, Falkirk 42 points, Hibs on 46, Motherwell 53, Rangers 57, Celtic 58, and Heart of Midlothian on 63. Are they going to be champions then, Craig? What do you think? So you don't think it's going to be Rangers? What do you think?
I think Hearts will win the title.
Yeah.
I think it's theirs to lose. I think that while there's continual hype around about Rangers and Celtic, I think it plays right into the hands of Hearts. I think with 9 games to go, if they win 6 of those matches, I think it's enough to get them over the line. Not mathematically, impossible, but I think that it's Hearts to lose. I really do.
Derek McInnes, you know him well.
Yes.
What are the qualities that you see in Derek and the way he's developed? He's Aberdeen and then Killie and now Hearts.
Listen, what again, I know Derek well from my time at Rangers together, and one thing I knew about him as a player is that he would fight for absolutely everything. That was just who he was. And so I still see those fighting qualities as a manager, willing to maybe take the heat off his playing group when needed. But let's not forget, domestically, he's got unbelievable experience as well. You know, you touch on the amount of time that he was up at Aberdeen, and he's not going to find himself in this type of position for some time unless he was at Rangers or Scotland.
Yeah,
you know, so he will not want to let go of this opportunity.
Is he not too young to go for the Scotland job if Steve Clarke goes? Some people do think he will. I wonder if he's got. Look, if Hearts win the title, and even if they didn't, his stock must be really high. He's still a relatively young man. Do you think he would he not want to stay there? The Tony Bloom money in there, the investment?
I think you're probably right in saying that the Scotland gig might be too early.
Yeah,
he's
got time for that.
He definitely has time. I think if he continues to go about his business, and that is showing that he's a really good manager and that can handle the big games and the big pressure, then the Scotland national team job, I think, will come further down the line.
Yeah. Peter?
I think he would move to England.
Yeah.
I think he'd get an opportunity to move to England, and Derek would take it. He was at Bristol, never went particularly well.
West Brom as well, wasn't he?
He was a West Brom player, captain there as well.
That's right, I can remember seeing him in the strikes.
He was there in that battle of Bramall Lane, if you remember.
Indeed.
Derek was a captain of West Brom that day, actually. He's done a phenomenal job. I think, if he gets an opportunity, it'll come from England. Then I think he would go there and try and say, well, I'm going to put my stamp down there so I can do a job down there. And then the Scotland job would come.
And maybe a Premier League club or upper half of the Championship.
Well, listen, anybody that wins the league, if Hearts won the league, everybody would have to have a look at him, in the respect of that.
Bring huge attention.
Absolutely.
Because look at Ange Postecoglou. How's Ange? Any word from him? Did you meet up with him
I met with him back in Australia.
Right.
I will try and. I mean, I know he's in London. I've not spoken to him recently, but probably in my travels, I'll definitely try and catch a coffee with him down in London. But he was upbeat. He was upbeat when I seen him. He was out at Melbourne Victory Derby. It was a Melbourne Derby, so he was a manager at Melbourne Victory. So it was good to see a few of the old pals and all that sort of stuff together. Paul. He was living okay and looking okay.
Sure. He wouldn't come back to Glasgow, would he? Much as he loved these 2 years.
I wouldn't have thought so. No,
he did it. I mean, the Celtic fans love him, and why not? 5 trophies out of 6. And then, you mentioned about Celtic winning. In 2021, Rangers won it by 25 points, Peter. And I know you know that. But you know what I mean? After that again, Ange came in, None of us knew him, and then he sort of transformed the club. And then Brendan Rodgers continued the following year, a double, then a double again. Not that long ago, seems ages, but the club have gone wrong. But what about Ange? Do you think he'll be back in English football?
100%. Whether it's English football,
Spanish,
whether he goes to a manager as in a national team because he's done that before.
That's true.
Whether he thinks maybe I've done away with the travelling and all that sort of stuff, I'd rather be settled somewhere. Who knows? But listen, there's no doubt he'd done a phenomenal job even at Tottenham to win the cup and to the injuries he had. And I know a lot of people argued about the way he defended. We know that, Paul. But listen, he's a wonderful coach and manager, and there's people would be desperate to have him as their manager.
He can be selective now, Paul.
You
know, he's done really well. So I think whatever his next job would be, it would be more about the type of project that it is.
Yeah. Who do they blame now at Tottenham? We don't have enough time. We're not that interested. But do you know what I mean? They blamed everyone. Then they blamed the guy who was the chairman, and Thomas Frank's been in and out.
And they could go down, by the way.
Look at Igor. I mean, he's
they
struggling, isn't he? I know. Playing tonight, of course, as well. Let's hear Martin O'Neill after. This is about the game. Let's talk about the football as well. So, it was tough, but it was a win at Rangers after penalties.
Any victory at Ibrox is big news for us, So from that viewpoint, it was great to win, and we're into the semi-final of the Cup. Still a million miles to go, both that and in the league, but that should give the players an enormous boost.
And that is the thing. Craig, from your point of view, first of all, Celtic 4 games on the road. They played 3 games in 6 days and then 4 the Rangers game. When I heard it, switched on the radio. I was out before watched it. And I heard Callum McGregor's out and Kieran Tierney. Yeah. And you thought, wow. And they don't have a striker, do they?
No.
Not really.
No. I mean, again, McGeady kind of played through the middle, which we know he can do. Look, see what you get such a heavy schedule like that, and see if you can find a way through that, winning matches and being successful. And again, being in similar situations where all of a sudden you're not feeling sore or sorry for yourself. You're feeling like an absolute winner, and you can't wait for the next game.
Yeah.
And you get enough people feeling and thinking that way, then you can produce all sorts, Peter. Like when you get that momentum.
Well, that's my biggest thing, Craig, and I keep arguing it, but we'll say it on here all the time, Paul. Players about playing games in their legs. The Celtic boys went again at the weekend. Rangers had the week off. And the boys were out with scales and all that, playing all the minutes. That just doesn't matter. You've got to go out there, and Craig will tell you, we've said that a million times, players prefer to play, Paul. Yeah, sure. There is no doubt in that. And see when you get that wee bit of momentum, it's tough. Football is tough. It's not easy. That's your job. It's not easy, and it's hard graft. You've got to prepare.
We all talk some nonsense sometimes, don't we, about too many games.
Absolutely.
Shush, come on, let's just go on with it and enjoy it. The rest of us who never played football professionally would give anything to play.
Well, think of the supporters that's got to travel.
Yeah.
This would be brilliant, though. Imagine, like you said, the data analysis and all that sort of stuff. Mate. Their computers will be flashing. Will be flashing all. Like, he's got to come off. He's got to. But now you can't. You can't. So all of a sudden now, Paul, what you're seeing and what we knew, what we went through, is how do you know when you've got a durable athlete if you don't push him through the pain barrier?
It's true. Timescale is the one on Callum McGregor's injury.
I think Kieran should, if I thought that he might have been able to have done maybe 30 minutes, all being well today, which he could not. So I'm hoping that he will be back for next week. Callum, we would just have to have a look. But before the game, when the two of them drop out, it's a major loss. So for the players to compensate for that there was brilliant.
Okay, and Danny Rule, final word from him, and he said, look, don't worry about our mentality.
Mentality, guys. This word should be not the topic today. And I see 120 minutes, just one team who deserve to win. That's not about mentality.
But he has to channel that differently, Craig, for the players.
Because he's not liking that what he feels is an attack of the team not having the right mentality. Look, he's disappointed because his team put in a lot in this particular football match, and he has made improvements to this team, but they didn't have enough to carve Celtic open. And again, you have to give credit to Celtic for the way that they defended.
We won't see you till next week, either of you. Any shocks this week again then? So Hearts, are they going to win, do you think, at Killie? What do you reckon?
I think that could be a draw.
A draw, Peter?
I'll go for Hearts.
Okay. St Mirren Rangers then on Sunday?
I think Rangers will win that.
Rangers for me.
And Dundee United is not what I'm asking you about, much as we love the Dundee derby. Celtic Motherwell.
I'm going to Celtic to steal it like a very, very close game, Paul. It's going to be something like 2-1.
A 2-1 maybe.
Don't say the winner's coming in the 95th minute or something like that.
96 minute.
For sure. No, again. I can't take any more.
I'm going to go for a draw in that match, which again
Are you going for a draw?
will
Right,
have
okay.
a huge influence on, I guess, the title running.
Mvuka, what was that all about, Peter? Does anyone know?
What's
Mvuka,
that?
the player. You know, sorry.
No,
Somebody's on.
listen,
Danny's asking.
No, he just come on.
Wow.
Never done much.
I just
to
threw
be
that
fair.
one in.
No,
Yeah.
but listen,
You don't want to be asked that one on Celtic
I
TV.
don't want to be critical of any football player. I don't like doing that because our time came and went. I'll give an opinion on a game, but no, not in that one.
Well, somebody who was a player, Aiden McGeady, will be with us tomorrow. You two were both great players. Thanks for joining us. Great to have you back,
Pleasure,
Craig.
Paul.
Peter,
Cheers,
as
Paul.
always. And Mark Guidi will be here, #1 pundit in the country. Thank you so much, everyone. Joe Kilday is up after the news.